So good evening to all. I'm Dr. Shubha Muthukumar from UPP, and thanks, Aishwarya. Almost you have discussed all the things actually. What to be discussed further. I was thinking. So we invite the panel today. It's a discussion session. A lot of who are people have been in the capacity building aspects for more than 4 decades have been joining here, and I can see my colleagues after 2.5 years in Hyderabad way of that in COVID. This CDF has promoted that to see them. For my panel today, we are going to have four guest speakers on this. Dr. Rameshwar, Director ST. Presently, he was in an award function in online, so he'll join later with more than 4 decades of experience in this training institutes on the engineering field. And Dr. Valli Manickam from Administrative Staff College of India. She is actually Deputy Director Training and hosting a lot of programs and projects. And we work close together for almost 15 years in the journey. And then Dr. Tirupataiah from Dr. Manickam Reddy Institutes. It's equal to LAPSA Missouri, which all the administrator gets training there, and also engineering services people gets training there, equal to ASCII. And then Dr. Vijay Kumar from National Institute of Rural Development. He's from Guwahati, and mainly he's focusing on the training capacity building aspects. So welcome to all the board of the experts in this forum. We can have a good discussion, nothing constructive, like we can have a good constructive mode, nothing any direct point of questions. You can share your experience on this. Some of the questions which we thought as a training entities, like we are the peers actually, so we have to discuss among ourselves. So this session mainly focus on the pedagogical tools for the individual capacity building program on the trainers' experiences. A prelude to this session, then I'll go to the speakers. When we broadly talk about the capacity building programs, I was searching that when this has been started origin. Actually, I got a literature, it is started in the 15th century, actually, capacity building, actually. I'm talking in 21st century, but it's 15th century. They have a quote there itself, the capacity building for any institute to grow upon, for the long-term development of the institutions. And also, this capacity building will co-create solutions with different stakeholders. A lot of stakeholders can meet in the capacity building, so that's a framework. And also, this capacity building have been strengthened the ecosystem, both organization as well as the society, as well as the country. And also support the technicalities and the adaptive technologies of the capacities of the individuals. And also, it also ground the seed, how a skills can be developed to a people as an individual. So this is actually 15th century data given on the capacity building, which I was go through it. So I feel all the training entities is focusing on this actually. This panel basically focuses, mostly the 4 people who have joined here doing the urban mission, rural mission program, a lot of other state missions program also. Normally, when you come to urban local bodies, as Aroma Ravi of Director IHS was telling morning, like afternoon first session, strengthening capacity of city level institution for effective governance and citizen service delivery is the motto of Ministry of Urban Affairs for all the urban missions. I understand from the data from the MAUHA that so far there are 1 crore people have been trained cumulatively, the urban functionaries, putting together all the institute in India and abroad and international agencies in Amrut and Smart City Mission, in Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, in Smart Cities, in National Urban Rural Mission, and also Jal Jeevan is coming up in a very big way, both urban and rural. So I think these institutes have a good training experiences. They also, with IHS, has formed the journey from 2015. One of our questions which I want to ask you, number one, Dr. Valli Manickam, to you this question, then we can have an open question on this. First, you can talk about how ASCII is imprint on individual capacity building programs, and what the sustainable model you think that it will work, because you are handling both the international and domestic programs simultaneously at go. So I thought this will give a eyesight to other people, other training entity to be present here. Dr. Valli Manickam, can you give your ASCII's imprint on this?
Thank you, Dr. Shubha, for having me here, first of all, on this program. It is a pleasure to interact with you and with all the participants. Very good afternoon to all of you all. Good afternoon to my co-panelists, and I should say, Tirupataiah garu, good afternoon. Good afternoon to Vijay Kumarji. I think it's a pleasure to see you all on this platform. As some of you may be aware of the work that ASCII is doing, it is with pleasure that I would share some of our experiences. I have been the Dean of Training Programs at ASCII, taking care of all the capacity building activities for almost 5 years now, and therefore, I can hopefully share some information that would be of insight to the participants. First of all, Dr. Shubha had set the context very well in terms of capacity building. We all are aware of capacity building activities taking place across various sectors, and more so in the services sectors across not just India, but across the globe. We understand that there are capacity building activities that are very structured in the services sector, and our colleague and friend Tirupataiah garu will certainly be able to throw light on what happens in that sector. But unfortunately, in sectors like urban development, rural entrepreneurship, or in sectors like the banking sector, there is no structured programs that are given, or no mandatory programs that are given. Again, if you look at entrepreneurs like the PSUs, there is some kind of structural hierarchy that comes in at the higher level. So what ASCII has done is we have tried to build a kind of capacity building programs for each of these sectors where we found that it is not in a very structured format. So we tried to do it for, I can give you 2 examples. One is, of course, the programs that we do which have an international component, which we take forward for almost all organizations that are made it mandatory for promotions. In fact, one of the things that we do is link it to the promotions, and unless they clear this program, which we call as an advanced management program, they do not get promoted in their office. So that is one way of forcing people to undergo a capacity building exercise. Sometimes we feel we are the know-all and we don't need to learn anything further. But when they come to our programs, they do understand that there is a lot of unlearning that has to happen first, and then the learning has to happen. That is the first of our experiences as trainers. Probably a day set just to try and ask people to unlearn what you have learned, and then and then say, okay, now you are open in your mind, so now you start the learning, or the process wherein you can think differently. I won't even call it learning. Because when you come up at your mid-career level or at an advanced career level, you unlearn and then you open up new ways of thinking. So what we do at ASCII is basically this: we try to do an unlearning exercise and then try to push them to think differently. So for example, we do something in terms of making them understand how they have to treat their colleagues, how they have to treat their peers. Not that they don't know it, but it's just that you refresh them and you give them a different perspective, which is extremely important. The other thing that we do is we also do competency mapping, which is again extremely important. Is the right person at the right job? It's just not because of experience you should get promoted and you should become what you are. So we try to also unleash their skills in terms of what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and where I can go forward in strengthening or converting my weaknesses to strengths. That is something that we again do for mid and senior level officials. Of course, I must say this is all extremely intense work that happens on a one-to-one platform. Sometimes it's challenging because the trainees who come to us are not willing to accept that this is a problem in them, which is, of course, they have come with so much of experience, so they would not like to say that, oh, of course, I am not prepared to say your what the tool or instrument you're using is right. They will come back and question us on the instrument itself that we are using. So some of the challenges are that we use tried and tested instruments that are developed in-house, so that you can actually administer them on the participants, be it from the urban platform. So each of these programs that we do are very, very customized. If I take it for an international training exercise, we go to the best places in the urban sector. We go to the, we visit the cities which are the best. It could be a visit to Israel, which has the best water, water recycling and facilities for water. It could be just Israel. You don't have to go to US, or you don't have to go to Europe for looking at that. So we go to, let us say, Spain to look at the transport system. Which they have got a very, very good transport system in US. But when it comes to some topics like bioremediation or something on waste management in the urban sector, probably we'll look at going to US and looking at some of the techniques that are there. So I won't say that there is one rule that we follow, and that's our strength. We at ASCII, we try to be open and also tweak the programs in such a way that we are able to attract participants from all sectors. I must say we train mid and senior level participants in a year close to 5,000. It may look at a small number when compared to probably what an MCHRD is doing or what what ASCII is doing, but we train the senior people, so that's where our strength comes in. And yeah, I think if there are any specific questions, I would be more than happy to answer. Yeah. I'll leave it at this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. We can have this 5 minutes with other organization, then we will have a common questions on this. Exactly, you mentioned the point on the competency mapping, which is actually the it's a turning of points where we understand the participants' categories and try to develop the course design. I think that's a stress point, and if on the cross learning with an international case studies, how that can be replicated in an Indian model. So that's one of the main point, which is a takeaway from your programs. Now I'll come to you later. Now, Dr. Tirupataiah, who is IFS retired and also head, Chief Consultant Training in Dr. Manickam Reddy, closely work with an Indian Engineering Services with him. Sir, nice to see you after a long time. And I want to understand from you that, day to day, you are handling two sets of people. One is at the long-term program. For the administrator, all the IAS people comes you 1 year, they stay with you, they get a lot of things from you, whichever they want to do it. And then there are engineers and managers, particularly you frame it also. What type of various mode of adoptions on pedagogy you use it to make these people to understand the subject? Because it's a complexity. People have experience, people have working people, some people in studying, they come to these type of jobs. So how would look into this, how both administrators and engineers you take as a pedagogy as a significant tool?
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me for this discussion. And also nice to see Dr. Valli after having quite a long time now, and Dr. Vijay Kumar and our colleague from ASCII and all the participants here. I would like to look at this irrespective of the type of people who come for training. I would like to weave a common thread that we are looking at. The first point I would like to mention is that I'll be more comfortable with capacity development than building. First point. Second, that we are involved in this particular aspect or field of work for the last 3 decades, personally as well as with the institutions. And the other point I would like to mention is that I would rather prefer another term to pedagogy. You know, all of you know what when you expand pedagogy, what it means. The point from where I start is I would move away from pedagogy and go into what is called andragogy or andragogy, you may call it, because we are in the institutions, we are dealing with adults, and that's the starting point for us, which influences the way we interact with our participants. I won't even use trainees, participants. So I move from pedagogy to andragogy, that is adult learning, how adults learn. In this context, I would like to, on my side, I have here the Buddha, great Buddha. Yesterday, if you had read the editorial in Times of India, the speaking tree, someone comes to Buddha and asks, impart me your enlightenment. So Buddha smiles and says, I'm sorry, I can't impart you my enlightenment, but I can certainly tell you the path to enlightenment. So point is that Buddha cannot give people enlightenment. The enlightenment Buddha got is his own enlightenment. It can't be transferred to somebody else, but he can show the path. And that man has to go through the path, take up all the hurdles on the way, and then only maybe he can get enlightenment. The other example I would like to give, that you were saying that capacity building, you referenced to about 15th century. But if you go into our Vedas, I would like to, I don't know, I mean, coincidence that you raised it. I would read a sloka, which is long from the Vedic time. It says, Acharyat Padama Datte. The teacher can give you only 1/4 through whatever ways of imparting knowledge or skills. Padam Sishya Swamedhaya. The disciple or the student has to learn another 1/4 on his or her own. Special seeking, going around, finding, exploring, all that. Sabrahmacharibhya Padam, the colleagues who are with them, around them, whether in the school, college, or in the offices, you have to learn another 1/4 from them. And the last quarter, Padam Kalkramenacha, it comes through experience. As you age in your life and your career, you gain that. No one can give you. Why I am saying this is that in our institutions, wherever I worked in the last 3 decades, we tried to provide the first 3 quarters, that how best you may have the teacher can only give 1/4. Unless the institution provides environment for the other 2, that is, how can a participant seek knowledge on his or her own within the campus, and 3, how can you provide facilities in such a way that the people who are participating in a particular course or program, they have more time to interact among themselves and cross learn. So that's the kind of facilitation required when you are dealing with adults. Having said this, I would also like to move that, picking up on what Dr. Valli Manickam mentioned, that in the country, especially I'll speak for the government sector, in the country, until 1996, we didn't have a national training policy. So only the first policy in independent India came in 1996. And that was the beginning of thinking on systematic approach to training in both at the union government level as well as at the state level, sorry. And only in 2012, that 1996 training policy was revised. And today we have the same 2012 training policy. I would like to pick just one point from that national training policy. The national training policy says that there is undue stress on the training institutions being made unduly responsible for performance or non-performance of the employees. They have found out that it is the departments or the ministries which have to bear a lot of responsibility as a training function within the divisions, within the departments, in order to ensure that their employees' competencies are not only mapped, but um, they are taken to a logical end through a proper training needs analysis, followed by developing training cadres, training calendars, all these functions which are generally associated with training institutions are actually as per the national training policy to be handled by the departments and the ministries. And unfortunately, let me tell you, unfortunately, that most of the ministries or departments, even today, do not have their HRs in place. So the issue is that on the training institutions, whole lot of undue pressure is built, that functions which are otherwise supposed to be performed by the ministries and departments are seen as the functions of the training institutions, which are not correct. So competency framework, for example, in government sector, everyone has a job chart, the job chart. But in my research, I found out 90% of the employees have never seen the job chart, but they still work. They work for 30 years and then they retire because they will do what is told to them. They will not do what is supposed to be done by them. So when you build capacities, when you are planning, what do you do is that when you are trying to impart or facilitate interactions, there is a kind of conflict between what is happening on the field and what is actually supposed to be done. So we try to kind of resolve this conflict by looking at the standard. I mean, if there is a office procedure, if there is a government order, if there is an act, you need to move from whatever you are doing, knowingly, unknowingly, to a more standardized format. So the point is that capacities cannot be built or competencies cannot be mapped unless someone knows what is supposed to be done. Unlike in private sector, on day one, you are given your list of tasks and left on your own and you are supposed to perform. Whereas in government sector, every day he will wait for your orders as to what to be done. So they
So
are
one intermediate thing, we
yeah,
have different sets of question on the challenging actually.
right.
As a conclude from you, because other speakers we asked their
Yes.
journey, then we'll come
Yeah.
back to you because time is
Sure.
there.
Sure.
One of
So
an
the
important
point.
thing, which I want to ask you because I asked this question first. What do you think there is a difference in pedagogical tools you are administrating towards the administrator level and engineers level? A quick point, then I'll go to other speakers and tell their journey, then
Yeah.
come back to you with the question.
Yeah. Actually, I was coming to that next. Now,
Okay.
why I gave this introduction is irrespective of the background of the participants, you have to look at this. Point one, andragogy. Point two, how do we deal it? We are institution who are generalists. Okay, there are process oriented capacity developments, there are domain oriented developments. So we specialize on process oriented developments. Maybe you are aware that the DOPT with the Thames Valley University, after the first national training policy came out with the 11 packages, starting from systematic approach to training, to direct trainer skills, to design of training, to evaluation of training, to training need analysis, to the monitoring management. A whole lot of packages are there. So our domain is to impart process oriented trainer development programs which can be used across all sectors in government irrespective of the background. Number two, we also take up domain oriented capacity building through the trainers development. We don't do the direct training, but we do the trainers development. Now, the differences between these two, one major difference I would mention is that, in my opinion, the process-oriented capacity development is necessary because that gives a much more wider understanding to a trainer when compared to a domain orientation. I mean, if 3 points have to be seen, that is what is to be told, that is the domain. Okay, how it has to be told, that's the methodology, and why it is to be told. So we focus more on the why part, which is a process orientation, the learning outcomes orientation, and ultimately the output orientation. So I won't see too much difference in whether the engineers come there. But today we have military engineering service people undergoing foundation course. So I won't see a seesaw change just because their background is engineers or these backgrounds are from administration. But we are more into the process orientation, so
Yeah.
that helps them to analyze
Yeah.
on what.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Maybe
sir.
we
We'll
can
come
come
back to
to.
you
Yeah.
with a question. You have stressed on the process-oriented development, and you also highlighted the National Training Policy 1996, because mostly we forget that we go with ad hoc with whatever we want to do it. So that's one of a key point which I want to take from you. Next, Dr. Vijay Kumar from NIRD, National Institute of Rural Development. Working in the Northeast, Guwahati thing, we talked today in CDF on the Global South, but also we are training mostly from the Northeast, and the Northeast has given a very significant point of capacity building, JJM, smart city missions, or anything else. A quick question to you: how NIRD is looking, because you are the ground level organization doing for community. You are also engaging equally the engineers. You are also filling the gaps between two. So what is your journey, NIRD journey on this? And a quick on Northeast type of participants like, because, Global South, we understand better, but that is also one of a part because you're heading the department there. So Dr. Vijay Kumar, the floor is open to you. 5 minutes on your journey. Then we can go to SKI, Mr. C.S. Krishna Prasad Rao.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity. We feel privileged to represent the National Institute of Rural Development, particularly the Northeastern Regional Center, that is Guwahati. And also greetings to our senior colleague, Dr. Tirupataiah garu, and also Dr. Valli Manickam, and also greetings to all the participants on behalf of National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayat Raj. This is a very good interactive session, that is a panel discussion on pedagogical tools for individual capacity building, particularly before pandemic, during pandemic, and after pandemic. There is a lot many changes we are going to see in the workplace environments. Workplace environments are going to change. So before pandemic, if you see the NIRD journey, we have completed our Golden Jubilee celebrations in the year 2008, and we focus mainly on the participatory rural appraisal methods, and also the community, elected representatives, and wide variety of participants we do undertake. That is the heterogeneity of participants we see, right from the village panchayat chairman to the Jilla Panchayat chairman, member of parliament, and also the all implementing officers, right from the village to the national level. We undertake the capacity building programs. So here, the capacity building programs, traditionally we used it to take up as a short term, and also in-person and instructor-led programs we use it to offer. So here it is facilitated by the technical experts, particularly the instructor-led training programs. So when you see here, the generic learning outcomes, generally we focus on the generic learning outcomes like knowledge and understanding only. But now the 21st century requirements and also the changing workplace environments requires to look into the higher order thinking skills. Earlier, all our training programs are only based on the lower order thinking skills. That is only knowledge and understanding only. But now it requires to look into the application, analysis, and synthesis part of the higher order thinking skills. As rightly pointed out by our senior colleague, Dr. Tirupataiah sir, the process oriented and also the domain oriented training methodologies, that is the andragogy particularly. Generally, the pedagogy is used for the child learning, whereas for the adult learning, it is an andragogy. Here, most of the time, the transfer of training is a question mark. Whatever the training we are conducting, whatever the institutional building or capacity building works we are taken up through these training institutions, the transfer of training, coming to the point of that, it is very, very questionable. So here in capacity building functions, particularly for the individuals, if you see, we used to have the on-the-job training programs, simulation methods of training, and also the knowledge-based training programs and experiential methods of methodology of training programs. These are broadly the 4 types of training methodologies we use to impart to our training programs, particularly in the rural development and Panchayat Raj sector. So here, when it comes to the individual's capacity building, it all depends on the individual needs and also the ecosystem. Ecosystem, particularly when you see the government organization or a voluntary organization, we do train the voluntary organization executives. The ecosystem or the enabling environment, which matters a lot when you think about the transfer of training. So particularly, there are so many missteps we have seen while carrying out these individualized training programs. That is motivating users. How to motivate the users? That is the biggest challenge, and also developing one size fit for all training. This is the most common misstep carried out by the training institution, not only by the NIRD, but many of the training institutions, they do follow this one size fit for all trainings. This is not exactly right. But now the given situation, the changing workplace environments are to look into this. Then insufficient preparation of facilitators in terms of andragogical application or pedagogical tools, or in terms of designing the session, that is the RD, the RD principle, ADDI. Here it is action, designing, developing, and implementing evaluation, the strategies. Here, if you see, the insufficient preparation of the facilitators is also we have seen. Then not allowing adequate time and resources. This is also one of the important aspects when you look into the capacity building framework or the capacitating of the trainees or the participants. So when you come to this NIRD's rural development sector training programs and all, we as an FX Training Institute at the national level, we do have our sister organizations, state institutes of rural developments in all the states. And down the level, we have the regional rural development institutions, that is extension training centers. And through this network, we use it to implement the training policies in the rural development and Panchayat Raj sector. So the pedagogical tools and individual learning from the trainer's perspective is the capacity building of the trainers is also one of the important challenge now. So the trainers normally, for all these training institutions, the input is from the university lecturers and the university colleges, the academicians. We use it to take the input for the trainers. So when they come to the trainers into these training institutions, normally they do practice the teaching methods rather than the training methods. The transition from the teaching to training function is a very difficult task. That is grooming of the trainers in terms of pedagogical tools for capacity building is the biggest challenge that what we are facing through our rural development and Panchayat Raj functioning. So I think this is our main focus, and this is our journey. I think I will come back later for the specific questions during this pandemic and all the digital learning and all, how we have conducted the programs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have clearly put that TOT is need of hour. Whatever we have a census, whatever we have an experience, we are trying to do this. This is a point which I want to take from you, like capacity building to be given for the trainers first, actually in a different motive. So there is a change of things. So now I come to the final speaker and guest for this session. Dr. Rameshwar Rao is receiving a Golden Peacock Award, one of alumni of me, actually. Now I request C.S. Krishna Prasad Rao, sir, SK, to brief the engineering journey what SK was doing for almost 40 years, 1981 to now.
Yeah. Yeah, 1 minute, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Yeah, certainly. Go ahead. It's, you can talk actually.
Yeah, ma'am, full screen, it is not coming.
So you want to share some presentation?
Not presentation, we don't want. I will just only speak out, ma'am.
No, you can speak, sir. We can see your face and everything. You can speak.
Yeah. Ma'am, actually, Engineering Staff College of India is a 4 decades of its existence in the country, which is meeting to the requirements of all the scientists, engineers, and then techno managers, and then the engineers from the private sectors, public sectors, and process industries. Both places have been taking care. It has a rich gaining experience of having the 11 divisions on the board with Center for Climate Change, Civil Engineering, Environmental Management, Information Technology, Management and Technology, Power and Energy, Quality and Productivity, and Water Resource Management, Design and Prototyping Center, and Faculty Development Cell and Skill Development Cell. Apart from this, we also take up works for the projects of the state government and central governments sectors as a third-party inspectorate. And we also use different, apart from this, we train almost 7,000 to 8,000 engineers and technocrats every year from our organization. And we also have participants apart from our Indian origin. We also have participants from international origin, like international countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan. Recently, we have signed an agreement with South Africa where we are getting participants from their side also to our place, and Nepal and Israel. These are the countries which people are getting benefit out of our organization, which we have our institute at our place. The ST not only have the faculties being taken from external experts, we have internal faculties who train the people at almost every level, because the internal faculty themselves has supposed to take some of the classes. They have to keep abreast of themselves with the latest technological developments which are happening as on today. That's what the main thrust is given to the internal faculty. The junior faculty, and senior faculties have to take classes invariably for every session at the training programs what we conduct.
Okay.
During this pandemic situation, the pedagogical tools what we were using earlier have been made out because of the reasons of the various situations, the COVID being spread out in a rapid way. We started making it in the online training programs, leaving about the earlier days of classroom sessions, the whiteboard, the OHP presentations, and the presentations in the classroom and all. We started online classes. Of late, recently, around one to few months back, certainly people are asking for online, certain other participants are asking for offline. Then we started conducting the hybrid method of doing training. Certain other people, we are making it on the digital classroom through online, and some are through offline. So this way, what we are meeting to the present requirements, and the 12 divisions are taking care of the major number of the trainees from different sectors, because they have 12 divisions which are catering to the needs. So every division will take care of the needs of the requirements of the state governments as well as the central government trainings which are coming out. Wherever the faculty, since they themselves have to teach, they themselves have to keep abreast with the latest technological developments, what is happening as in today in the academic field as well as in the industry side. Unless they keep themselves abreast, they cannot teach to the trainees who are coming from the defense sectors, public sectors, and process sectors, and then for the government sectors and state governments and central government areas.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I will have questions, and it's very great that I also the alumni of SK actually worked for 15 years.
Yeah, ma'am, the moment I saw you, I remembered you.
So I also know that the performance of that. So now we can take a question, and participants, if you have any questions, can we have, you can type in a chat box or Q&A so that we can ask the questions later. I'll come with the questions for the speakers first. I have made some questions so that Ms. Valli Manickam, madam, for you this question actually. In India, exclusively, what do you think about the budget allocation to our capacity building? Always we are in the foothold, like it's a constrictive budget actually. It's not like a liberal budget. What do you think about how the changes has made it? Because why I'm asking this question, always the sponsored program gets more participants and everything, but when you call us an individuality, the nominations gets, you know that we are always bothered about the nominations every time. So what's the budget you think the allocation to the training As per yesterday, Additional Secretary JJM is telling 5% is given to JJM for the trainers in the CapEx actually. So what do you think about the budget allocation to the training?
Thank you, Dr. Shubha. I think very pertinent question because this has a twofold answer if that comes to my mind. The first thing is that at the outset, if you see, the budget for training across all ministries, across all departments is minimal. People really do not give much importance to the training, and that's why when we are actually calling for participants to come for training, they then scramble and say, where is the budget to take, to actually send the participants for training. The perspective, and more so in a situation like the pandemic today, if you look at what has happened in 2020 and 2021, the first thing that gets hit is the capacity building activities, because people do not want to actually send their participants to a training program. They feel there are more other important things to do. So training does take a hit on the budgetary side. There are some organizations and some departments which have specific allocations for training, and at max they keep it consistent, or if there is a need-based budget, then they always take it and they plan for, especially if there are international programs, then it is budgeted for, because the costing for international programs is pretty high. So wherein there is a sequence of programs that needs to be conducted as per the mandate of the departments, there is some allocation that is fixed. Now this is true for all departments. I see that across the various ministries, the overall budget itself is cut by 20-25% thanks to the pandemic. Now in that kind of a scenario, automatically the training budget also will come down. And people are of the view, and I have spoken to n number of departments. It is like training is the minimum of the priorities for them, whether it be at the highest level or at the mid level. They feel that, I had told in my introductory remarks also that they feel that it's okay, we are the know-all, we are the know-hows of all the requirements, so we don't need to go for training. And so it is twofold. It is from the side of the department which is allocating a budget. It's also from the perspective that people do not, if I am a planner and I would like to put some money for training, I would rather, I think I will spend it on something like increasing my infrastructure or increasing my lab or something like that, rather than put an allocation for training. And that's where the first challenge starts. The budget has been reduced. Yes, there is a mandate, even as per the NEP. Sir had mentioned about the NEP. So even as per the NEP, there is a mandate, but very rarely there is something put up substantial. The second part of the story is, since they are unable to relieve their officers, especially since it's at a higher level, sometimes they are not even able to meet that small budget. So automatically it again takes a cut when it comes to the succeeding years. And suddenly when there is a surge for training activities in the department at the mid level, they are unable to cope up because the training budget will not be sufficient at that point. So it's a double-edged sword, wherein you're looking at the planner or the department giving some allocation for training, but the general perspective is I don't need to spend on training.
Thank you. The thing is that from your takeaway, I can put this point to every training entity who are pressure us lot, like capacity building wing should look as a development wing, not a financial resource wing. Because all the time we go with a budget and we try to grab some participants at the last minute. So I take this point, and very clearly you have mentioned that. Thank you, ma'am, for this. And I feel that online also have taken open to the challenges of the international training, which people cannot attend now, they can attend also. That way also it's an advantage, one of a way. thank you, ma'am, that it's a clear indication to all the training entities that it should look as a development wing, not a financial wing, actually. It should develop these scenarios. The next question to Tirupataiah. Sir, ma'am, I'll come to you back. The next question to sir. Sir, I want to ask you that how you validate your trainers, because we are talking 1 crore, 2 crore in a mission state projects and a lot of things. How you can validate that these guys are doing the end user implementation? So far, there is nothing a data available that these guys got training due to this and then they flourish their states or cities or something else. So why does end user is, we have in like previous thing, we have in IHS also end user feedbacks and collecting, and some people write to us. One of a guy written to us last week that due to your training, we adopted some search survection ranking and we got from 48 rank to 7. So it has over enlightened us, like, okay, somebody got this implementation. Otherwise, he himself came to this actually. We have not even asked it. So can you say that how you can validate the data on this end user implementation? Because this is missing cycle in the training entities.
Yeah. So thank you for asking that question. As I mentioned earlier, the DOPT, the Department of Personnel and Training, has a package which are the process oriented packages. One of the packages is evaluation of training. Now, again, I come back to the role between the training institutions and the departments. What if you if you are aware about the evaluation of training, there are various levels where evaluations are taken place. We use evaluations at the what we call entry behavior. As soon as the course starts, you can do at level 1, which is called how much do you know already about this subject, which is for which you came. And then that gives an idea on what level you have to pitch your course. You need to make modifications, etc. You can do. So the entry behavior is the first level we do, and analyze that on the spot, and kind of work out whatever is possible in the course. Number 2 is continuous monitoring. That end of every day there are questions which you can do these days online. You can do flickers, you can do many other kinds of things, or you can do through flashcards. Ask questions and see what is learned through the day. And then at third level you have at the end of the course evaluation. Evaluation is not about the course. Evaluation is the learning outcome of the participant on the subjects which are taught during the course. Okay, so this is different from evaluation of the course, whether structure is okay, is it useful, that's a different issue. So 3 levels are within the purview of the training institution. The 4th level that to some extent my research says a few training institutes are doing is, for example, you frame a set of questions, hand over to the participants at the end of the course and say that please, it is a self-addressed kind of envelope which has questions. So after going back to your work, after implementing whatever you learned here, you send back this after 1 month. Okay, so of course the percentage of papers returned are much less, but nonetheless, that's one method of training institution going beyond the confines of the training institution in terms of evaluating the learning outcomes. But let me say this, the point is whether the improved performance, if at all, because the controlling officer or the supervising officer knows when this person came for training, what was his level of performance. After the training, what is his level of performance. If the supervisory officer is able to notice, observe, or evaluate in some way, and that's where totally we don't have, the training institute doesn't have any control on that. Moreover, there is also an issue that most of the times, the short-term courses that people take don't directly relate to the job that they are doing. And it is true in majority of the cases. I may not put a percentage on that, but it is true in majority of the cases. But if you take long-term, For example, you go for wildlife training 9 months. After coming back, there is no guarantee that you will be posted in a wildlife post. You may be posted in a something else. That those issues are also there. But all said and done, I would put this as a responsibility of the line department, which is sponsoring the candidate, as to what kind of new learnings have come to them and how are they helping this person who has come from training to use them. If the supervisor or the structure ecosystem, as Vijay rightly mentioned, doesn't support, then the chances of using this new knowledge or skills, it's quite minimal. So
Yeah.
it's a combination of training institution as well as the department, which has to come into picture if we really like to attribute or you want to see the return on investment, as I think indirectly Dr. Valli mentioned. If you want to really go to the level of return of investment for trainings, training institution alone or department alone cannot do it. Everyone in the entire cycle have to get involved so that we can attribute that whatever improved performance is coming, it is attributable to the inputs given in the training.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. I take this point actually because, sending forms, it's okay, but still we have to have that loop properly addressed. I felt it in this.
Yes.
There is a next question to Mr. Vijay Kumar. Actually, I want to ask you, this is actually, we have prepared the question. This COVID, what type of changes has happened in the skills approach in the training? This COVID, after how the participants changed, what their expectation in the pedagogical tools actually due to this COVID, not only COVID, any type of pandemic comes up, what the changes that now it is coming up.
Yeah.
You can see the difference in the participants level where they have, they want an exposure type because that's a limited one. Hand holding we can give it, but that is also limited to not to face. The only possible is an online discussion, group out sessions and everything. How you see the participants towards capacity building changes that has come up?
Yeah.
1 minute, we can have a time.
During this pandemic situation, most of the time during this lockdown and all, work from home situations, there is only one way of doing the capacity building is through virtual mode. So the virtual learning actually using the digital platforms. So this was the biggest challenge, using the appropriate digital platform for delivery of the training programs. So most of the digital platforms are not suitable for the training function. Actually, it is only for the discussion kind of a thing. So good way to support the capacity building is tailored to the needs of the individuals. So here, most of the time, the participants, they expressed that they have the unmet needs. Here it is, the just refresher initial training programs, refresher courses, and at the same time, we use it to provide ongoing support, just only the mentorship for honing and building the skills we have done it. So developing online programs through these mobile training programs, it requires investments in technology and at the same time platform. Then content creation is the biggest challenge. So content creation to suit the needs of the individuals and better knowledge retention and application is also one of the biggest challenge when you go through this this thing. And another important thing what we have seen in northeastern region is the network problems, infrastructure facilities of this internet facilities and learners access to technology. And also their technological skills. All the learners, they don't have the technological skills. And some learners also, they don't have proper awareness on this digital technology. So capacity building here, we have taken up both two, virtual as well as the blended learning. So at times using digital tool may not be appropriate. Using wrong tool at the wrong time could result a worse training outcome also. This is what we have experienced during these COVID situations. So face-to-face workshops, virtual learnings, and work-based learnings are very, very on demand. The individuals are demanding for that. So e-learning is a good for particularly geographically dispersed locations. And also the participants, those who are in conflicting places. Most of the participants from Afghanistan, they enjoyed by using this Zoom and all this because they are in a conflicting position. They cannot travel it. So for them, it is okay. And sometimes those who are working and those who are doing other jobs and all, limited daily time for the capacity building. And also they wanted to complete these training programs through short modules, also in a rising mode. So appropriate learning at their own speed as created through this virtual learning. So this digital learning and virtual learning, the biggest challenge is the digital platform, and at the same time the content creation, and also the pedagogy what we are discussing, that is based on this Bloom's learning objectives, Bloom's taxonomy of learning objectives. We cannot fulfill all that learning objectives. Only the generic learning outcomes we can handle through this digital mode of training offer. So this is the scenario, particularly during this COVID pandemic, and also this northeastern regions, the connectivity problem, and also the skill upgradation is required. And still till today, most of the learners, most of the government functionaries, they don't have the access towards this internet bandwidth, and also the technological operations. These are all our challenges. So understanding the ecosystem is a biggest challenge. So to create proper ecosystem for transfer of training, organizing the training for this capacity building is very, very important aspect as far as our NIRD experience is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Dr. Rameshwar sir from SK has joined now. So one of a question to him, one of my colleagues from IHS has asked him that, Mr. Rameshwar, you are in call, I believe. As SK have a 4 decades of an experience in training, you have done as an institution, you have trained so many, because I understand that each year they train 6,000 people. So earlier it might not be that much more, but if you cumulatively take at least 20,000, 30,000 people, we train it in a large scale. So you have gained, what type of trainers like experience, whether they truly develop their capacity, you have tracked this through any institutionalizing the knowledge of trainers? And also one of a question is that whether you do any mid-course corrections or you update periodically your training methodology, because the group is different, the sector is different, 11 departments are totally different. So Dr. Rameshwar, you are in call?
Yes, I am the call.
Yeah.
Sorry, first of all, I am sorry because today we have received the Golden Peacock Award just now in that meeting.
Sir.
It is a great honor to be the part of the panel as a member of this discussion on behalf of our Engineering Staff College of India. Already our senior faculty, Krishna Prasad, already I think we will take the feedback from him. If a proposal thanks to the Indian Institute of Women's Settlement wing of Bangalore, and also thanks to the Madam Subha Mothkur Kumar, the senior consultant and urban practitioner program of IIHS. I also welcome to the great panelists. We are having the Valli Manickam and also Dr. Tirupataiah. He's also, we know that he's our close friend Lakshmikant Rao classmate. Is the, I think.
Yes, hearty congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the questions you can answer.
Yes, I will answer now.
Time is running out.
Yes, we are also conducting now. You know very well we are conducting almost offline and online programs in our institution. Now we are started the hybrid system. We are also conducting hybrid systems. Some programs recently we started, but totally we are facing a lot of problem because of pandemic. We are not able to conduct the offline programs. And regarding to some programs, now we are started our Jal Jeevan Mission level 2 and also level 1 programs. We are starting offline and online. But offline we are also doing the only 3-hour session. That is online. Also online is the only continuation 4 days programs. So offline is online. Offline is 3 days we are conducting continue, but online only 3 days. That's all. 3 days, 3 hours. It is not sufficient. But we are also we are getting the feedback from of all participants that whatever the programs we are conducting capacity buildings in Jal Jeevan Mission, they are telling that this the time is not sufficient, that whatever the time now allocated for the 3 days and the 2 days program, like it is not sufficient. It is a almost offline program, at least 5 days, which is okay. They can learn something, and this is not possible. And they are telling like that. That is the only thing.
So one question. So one question to you, that you have any mid-course correction of your methodology
Yes,
changing
we are
in course of time?
Yes, we are conducting. We are doing every year. We are doing, and also today also. In fact, we are having one division. They are conducting some revising everything, syllabus and methodology. How to do? They are every division. They are reviewing, and there is every year, including the revised programs in year. We are doing some methodology. We are changing as per the suitable to the current scenario. And because of due to pandemic, now anyhow we have to do the all programs online only. For that we are planning how to improve like that. We are methodology also we are changing.
Yeah, thank you, sir. One of the question to the Dr. Valli Manickam. Thank you, sir. I'll come back to you because running out of time. So thank you. One of the question to Dr. Valli Manickam from there is a Shruti Chandrasekhar who have asked a question that is there is some how we prioritize the training and building capacity in a particular sector, how the demand for the training shaped. If you think that this year what will be the priority, I understand from your working and every working, vaccine is becoming a very big boom now. Vaccine supply and sectors and coming a boom. So she is asking a particular question, how the demand for training will be shaped, how this training and capacity in particular sector will be chosen actually as a policy.
Yeah, thank you, Shubha. I'll just try to answer that question. When you look at prioritization of training, and it is also linked to what my previous speaker had spoken on the training programs. We have to look at what is the current need. For example, during the year 2020, even during the lockdown, we had done online programs, wherein we had done programs that were on specific areas of hand wash, hygiene, sanitation, which was the need of the hour. We did programs with 10,000 plus participants, and sensitize school children towards this particular topic of wash. Similarly, we had done a lot of programs in the healthcare, which you had rightly mentioned in terms of the scenarios with reference to the vaccination. So very specific programs on how healthcare professionals should understand. We also did how they should have a work-life balance, how they should look at the psychology with so many patients coming in. So at that point in time, that was a priority. That was a sector in terms of sanitation, hygiene, and the vaccines. Today, what is happening is, and what we are understanding is, there is a built-up demand, because as I had mentioned in my initial remarks, that there are certain organizations which have mandatory programs to be conducted. So I noticed that now there is a built-up demand because people have not gone for those training programs in the last year of 2021. We have already lost quite a substantial amount of time in this current year. So there is a built-up demand now that is happening for not just the specific programs in terms of that related to handling the pandemic, but also in terms of the routine programs. We are conducting on-campus programs, and we have almost done about 60 programs on our campus, following all COVID protocols till date. Okay, so there is a built-up demand, and people are now kind of saying, okay, we need to train our people, we need to give them a break, we need to see that they are regenerated, they are they have this new perspective in terms of how to handle the trainers. So we do certainly see that the curve will go up, and we will see that. I think the Q4 of this particular year will see a built-up demand and supply in terms of the training programs that are happening. The best way to handle it is to do a hybrid mode, wherein where people can travel, they come here. Where they cannot travel, you just beam the program through the online platform, and we are able to handle that scenario. But take it from me, all training institutions have to gear up to the hybrid mode, and the amount of pressure that will come on them will be huge in the next 3 months. There is a built up demand. We have done an analysis, we have done a study, and we find that there is going to be a demand. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I think running short of time, so within 2-3 minutes, we'll have a closing on this. The second question which I want to ask you that, to Mr. Vijay Kumar, normally, with the experience of the training entity which we are doing it, we get heterogeneous group, homogeneous groups in the mixes. So how, and government one side speaking on the convergence of all the missions. So people differently comes around it. So what are the challenges you face when you're taking this, or any type of pedagogical approach should be focused? Whether homogeneous group is challenge or heterogeneous group is challenge?
Yeah.
Organizing
training program for this heterogeneous group is the biggest challenge, particularly in the rural development sector. What we are experiencing is one side a block panchayat president will be there, other side a joint secretary rank IAS officer will be there, and one side Jilla Panchayat president will be there, other side one NGO executive will be there. So like this, a mixed kind of a group is there. It is the biggest challenge. Here, most of the time, what we will go is all our training methodologies we combine. Blended approach we follow here. Some experiential training methods we use, and also some simulation kind of a thing we use. And also we use varied of methods like panel discussions, small group discussions, and also large group discussions kind of a thing. This is it. So it all depends on the, as I rightly pointed out in the initial discussion, the trainer's capacities. The trainer's capacities on how to use this blended methodology is the biggest challenge. So the ecosystem, the understanding the ecosystem of training at the training institution also is very, very important. A person who is in charge of the delivery of training and research functions, the head of the training division also, he should have a positive thinking and also positive mindset, growth mindset, to allow the trainers to grow and also to expose the trainers to the higher level, so that the trainers' capacities can be improved and they can use this blended methodology to meet the needs of these heterogeneous groups. And whereas coming to the homogeneous groups, it all depends on the experience of the participant and the nature of the training what we are offering. Particularly NIRD context, if you see, we do offer the training programs to fill the gap of the actual policy and its implementation. The implementation gaps we are going to fulfill through our training function. So these are all our very, very important areas.
Thank you.
You have addressed it through this panel discussion. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And next 1 minute to Mr. Tirupataiah, sir. One of a question which already he has shared that, one of from ALHC talking people are how, if any panelists can also answer this, how definitely we can, because, once the training is over, the trainers and trainee relationship is lost. We are again concentrating on another course delivery and content, to stick into that, how the outcomes and outputs can be measured. At least we can do some strategic approaches individually to do that. If anybody can answer in the panel, that's a question, main question, which I've asked early also.
Yeah, that's a good question, and also that's a tough question, and question that calls for multiple organizations, as I mentioned earlier also. But there are examples of going beyond the training institution. First of all, training institution can do at least 3 levels of evaluation, as I mentioned already. And once you have a good collaboration with the line department, it's quite easy to follow it up. As I mentioned, what we do is that, for example, in a particular cadre, you have 2,000 people. you can have after a month or two, you can have a sample of that, call them, and then look at how their own self-confidence in handling issues after the training. And
Yeah.
also we have the third-party evaluation. I mean, institutions like SKI do third-party evaluations of impact of trainings. Even for institutes like NIRD, when I was in SIRD, I used to see SKI, the ASCI reports on third-party evaluation. So that's I mean, it is up to the institution to and also the department, really looking at an objective evaluation of impacts. But let me put this at the bottom, that in government sector especially, the outputs cannot be directly traced back to learning outcomes. So somewhere there are multiple factors that come in place, whether it is delays in funds release, or it is hurdles in implementation, or various other issues that might come. So today, I don't think there is any tool that can filter out all these factors and then say, okay, this improved performance is because of these learning, that took place through the course. But all said and done, it is possible. It is the need of the future. And I think institutions who are participants here and also others would be looking into the future into developing a suitable framework that is more objective, and it can help not only institutions but also the departments in really seeing the return on the investment for training.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And one of Michael has given one of a prompt in our chat that we have to call some of a person who have developed the capacity building and grown in the sector, and he has developed a lot of capacities, because we are only training other people. So I want to have a question, because I should not tomorrow we are going to discuss on more, Michael, so we can discuss on that. But I want to quickly come through you, anyone you can answer, because 1 minute time is there. Definitely the capacity building has improved your stature in the organization, because that will be the answer for him.
No, I mean, I think, sorry for going first, but you see, as I have been mentioning, for example, in 3 decades, I was in 4 institutions as head there. I put a policy that if a faculty joins me, within 3 months, they must undergo direct trainer skills. If that person doesn't undergo, not permitted to handle any course, not permitted to take classes. Number 2, within 6 months, he or she must undergo design of training, understand how a design is prepared, what is a training design brief, how objectives are set, how sessions are planned. Okay, so I have policies in place. So number 1, how you develop more trainers is that you have policies in place, which national training policy is supporting, and ATIs in all states, they are willing to develop trainers of all training institutions free of cost. Free of cost. Every year we do 10 to 12 trainer development programs at MCHRD, and I request all the training institutions to make use of that. That's one way of doing. Second way of doing is that on the domain side, especially the domain oriented training institutions can take up the training of trainers. For example, if you go to DOPT website, you will see trainers who are certified. They are called recognized trainers. They are called master trainers, 2 levels. Entire country, only 200 odd people are there. Out of them, hardly 50 are active. If you look at the enormous quantity of capacity development that is required and the number of trainers who are really available, it's a really mismatch, basically. So as Vijay mentioned rightly, every institution, every department must look into this. If you don't have quality trainers, then how do you actually, one last thing, you were mentioning so many people are trained, so many people are trained. Actually, so many people are not trained. I give you an example. 10,000 we do every year. Number of government employees are 2.5 lakhs. If I do 10,000, one person will get a chance in 25 years. And national training policy says every person must get 1 week training every year. as Dr. Valli says, that's the enormous magnitude we are supposed to do. We are doing nothing. Actually, what we are doing, some incremental thing over last year, it's not what we are supposed to do.
Yeah.
The target is much huge. And
Okay.
Once we attack that, then all other issues like money and all that will come into.
Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir. And actually, other questions. I think this is a series of this is going to happen every year, so we can discuss the reflective point from them. So, as a summary of this panel, the question also is answered. The participants' question also answered. So, summary of this is that capacity mapping, and we have to be a process-oriented development. We have to develop the programs, as well as the first of all, the trainers has to get a lot of capacity in this actually. And then handling the diverse group is also, we have to have the blended learning. And the final thing which I want to conclude with, everybody is accepting this in a, what is the modern words on pedagogy? Think, pair it and share it, make a discussion forum and flipped learning like what we do in JJMs. And we can also have an ad hoc debates, meetings and pollings, and also the group discussions and collaboration and sharing with this. And we taught them the world examples to follow. And the very important thing on today's is mentoring, coaching, and also the peer experiences and the reflective learnings, which I thought these are the theoretically statement, but ground levelly we have to try to implement it. I thank you for all the panelists who have joined it.
Subhaji, just one last point. On 30th of June, we had a national level workshop of training institutions anchored by Extension Education Institution, Hyderabad, where about 50 training representatives of national and state level institutions participated, debated on 3 aspects because of pandemic. Aspects from the trainee point of view, aspects from the trainer point of view, aspects from the management point of view. So if you are interested later, maybe we can share with you.
We'll have an offline debate on this. So thank you one and all. And thank you for the participants. It's a very great insight what the other experience. I understand that all the training institute is standalone performing their own job, but there is a need of integration to take it as a deliverable actually. Thank you, Dr. Valli. Thank you, Dr. Vijay and Tirupataiah and Dr. Rameshwar Rao and Prasad Rao and all the participants. Now I request Aishwarya to take over.
Thank you, Shubha. Thank you for joining us on this panel and elaborating on so many relevant topics. Dr. Valli Manickam, Dr. Kota Tirupataiah, Dr. Vijay Kumar, Dr. C.S. Krishna Prasad Rao, and Dr. Rameshwar Rao. These discussions are absolutely pertinent, and we are happy that we could provide a platform for this through the Capacity Development Forum. At this point, to all the participants, I have 3 important announcements. First is I request all the participants on this call to please turn your videos on so that we can have a virtual group photo. This is the best we can do. So I request you all to please turn your videos on for about a couple of minutes so we can take quick screenshots and share with you all. Nice to meet you all. Finally, I can see some faces. I think another minute.
I think you made everybody very conscious, Aishwarya.
Why? No, I mean, it's great to meet people finally, even virtually. Because otherwise we had to just wait and wait. We've been planning to host this for a while now, and then we've been thinking about having this in our campus, and then we thought we'll do a hybrid model, but with all of these new variants, I think we just had to end up here. So it's just nice to see everyone's faces here. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, the day is not over yet. 1 second, are the photos done? Yeah. Okay, thanks. You can keep your videos on if possible. The second important announcement that I have here is about tomorrow's session. The joining links for tomorrow will be shared separately. It's not the same link, so please don't use the same links. There'll be issues in joining. The third important announcement is this, that we're not done for the first day yet, just yet. We'd like you all to use this forum. We've been talking about the platform for us all to get together, and this is a great opportunity to just meet everyone. So we'd like you all to use this forum to get to know each other. And so please do stay on the call. We'll break out into smaller rooms and say hello to us and tell us more about you and your work. Yeah. So please do stay on the call, say hello. We'll know a little bit about you.
Aishwarya, does it apply to the to the?
Yes, please, you will also get to meet others, no?
Okay,
so,
but yeah, maybe thank you for the offer, but maybe
for a short while at least, just to see it.
Thank you for that offer.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
For the discussion group, some of prompt I have made it here. I excuse that went, I want the group to discuss these points, like what is the requirements of pedagogical to be adopted at their present scenarios. And one group can take it on how our TNA framework should be framed to understand better the significance of the training impetus. Whether in an engineering training and managerial training, whether both has to be clubbed to make the skills proper. And exposure visits, classroom, case study, hand-holding. What is the preference of participants now given it? How the TOT requirement can be frameworked? How, for example, if I doesn't have a knowledge in a particular way, how I can frame it that way? Because we are talking TOT. So these are the 5 broad discussion points I have given it. So the breakout rooms can take any discussion points on this, and you can also mingle yourself to talk about this on the pedagogical tools, how the learner's perspective.
So we will be making around 30 members are there. So we will be making 5 groups. Group 1 can take first prompt, and group 2 can serial wise they can take the
second, and group 3, 3, 4, 5. Otherwise, you can also discuss the common points which you want to discuss.
So one of the IHS person will be coming to your group, and you will explain if you have any doubts or any clarification. So and also before going on to discuss the theme shared, first you introduce yourself, your organizers to other group members, so that they will get to know you. That was the main aim of this session, online networking.
This group is want to have a online networking between the small groups to understand each other, because we can make at least 50 people coming into a single platform in 5 to 10 minutes to understand better.